Yes, this is Gina Ifoe, the one and only African superstar, back at it again. Big shout out to the African superstar family. I came live about a week ago and I was in Columbus at the time. I'm currently in London. Yes. I traveled with my little sister. As I mentioned, her birthday is tomorrow. So we have spent a lovely week together in London. She will be moving on this weekend, and I will be moving on. So, anyway, let's get into this topic. Yes, let's get into this topic. Big shout out to the family. Hello, if you're there. If you're there, let me see you in the chat room. Hello. Yes, let's see you in the chat room. Okay. One and only African superstar family. Let's see you in the chat room so I can kick off this unpopular opinions. Guys, it's the one and only Gina Ifoe, the one and only African superstar. Happy Thursday to you. Yes, whenever you see this. If you're new to my platform and you enjoy my content, please make sure that you subscribe, be a part of the conversation, get into the chat room, let us know where you're viewing from, those type of things. I'll be very happy to hear from you. Tonight's topic is unpopular opinions. When you want freedom or real change, you will do whatever. Let them criticize you. Okay. One thing that remains consistent about movers and shakers and innovators and artists and leaders is the criticism that we receive from going on our journey. One thing is for sure. You will never get anywhere if you don't make the attempts. To people that are stationary, your attempts may seem crazy. They may not make sense. They will bring up all the different dangers or the potential risk of whatever you're doing. When I moved to the UK, a lot of people thought I wouldn't be successful in that. When I moved to Ghana, a lot of people thought I wouldn't be successful in that. Many people met me with negativity, met me with fear mongering, met me with, you're never going to make it, you're never going to be happy, blah, 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 blah. And what I'm here to tell you is that when freedom or real change is on the line, okay, when those things are what you are pursuing, you will do whatever it takes. Okay, you will do whatever it takes. Let me use a burning building as an example. Okay, guys, when you come in the room, let's get the likes up. Hello, or is anyone in the chat room yet? Okay, please get into the chat room, be a part of this conversation today. Unpopular opinions, I'm coming here with you today. Let me use a burning building as an analogy. All right. Thank you. Dr. Carnita Groves is the first one there. Thank you so much, sweetie. I appreciate you. Guys, if you're here, make sure you hit the likes and let me know that you are in the building. This is live. All right. So let me use this analogy of the burning building. Okay. If your building caught on fire, your apartment building, your condo, your luxury penthouse, whatever. Okay. And, it was a case of life or death. If you had to run out of the building without shoes, you would do it. Some of us who don't really wear much of anything when we're home, when we're comfortable in our clothes, you might run out naked. At that time, your pot belly's shaking. If you're a lady, your breasts are shaking. If you're a man, your genitals are shaking, whatever. Okay, if you're old, your wrinkles are out. Okay, some of you guys that walk with a limp or have a disability, you would find that the adrenaline would get flowing and you would be moving like a track star to get out of that burning building. Okay, some of you guys would drop on the floor and crawl. Okay, you would get your hands dirty, you would get your body dirty, whatever, to seek freedom, to seek safety, to save your life in the analogy of a burning building. I want to liken the freedom that many of us are pursuing to that. Okay, when you are after the freedom or when you're after real change, you don't really care what that looks like. All you want are the results. When I made the decisions to leave America specifically, because I had come to the conclusion that what I was experiencing was going to be the status quo. You know, I realized that at that time I was as young as I had ever been. I had acquired a reasonable amount of education at the time. I was professional. I was at my optimum. You know, young, attractive, single at a point, no children. You know, I had the world was my oyster, and I came to the conclusion that what I was experiencing in America was what it was going to be, and I had to make a drastic change. You know, I scaled through different avenues that my predecessors had tried. Okay, came to the conclusion discussions don't work, protests don't work, legislation doesn't work, civil rights doesn't work, by all means necessary doesn't work, Black Panthers doesn't work. I came to the conclusion that I had to go beyond. I had to go to a different, you know, level that wasn't common, that wasn't mainstream. You know, and at the time, you know, there were not a lot of resources, information about what I wanted to do. I would say that you guys in this modern day, you have so much more information at your fingertips if you are interested in traveling the world, migrating abroad, you know, Africa, what that's like. You have so much resources right now. For those of us that were pioneering nearly a decade ago or beyond that, you know, it was really trial and error, traveling at our own expense, you know, trying to find out what it was really going to be like and doing it against all odds, doing it against a lot of criticism. I'm here on the other side to tell you that when change and real freedom is your goal, those criticizing you are really a moot point. They're so irrelevant. You know, I have some people come on this channel, you know, a lot of people that are living in America that have not explored the world, that have not lived in different countries. They have no context. They are negative, they are discouraging, they are critical. But at the end of the day, who are they? I mean, what valuable input do they have to someone like me who's moving in a totally different direction? Now, if my critics were people that were in my position or beyond, people that I looked up to, people that been there, done that, that's another thing. Then you can actually take that information with a grain of salt, knowing that, okay, they've traveled a similar path. They have similar interests. Guys, take a minute out and hit the likes. Hello, don't be a spectator. Hello, don't be a spectator. Hit the likes. But very commonly, the persons, the people, you know, that are criticizing you, that are analyzing everything that you do, they are not those, they're not an audience of your peers. You know, let them watch you. Let them criticize you. Let them talk shit. Excuse my language. Let them. And then, above all, show them. Show them. Prove your point. Be successful. Operate in longevity. Flex. Okay? Your track record is going to speak for you. Your track record is going to back up your ideology. Your track record is going to show and prove. That's what it's all about. You know, these critics, what they have is their criticisms of you most of the time. They don't have a track record that can rebut what you're saying or rebut your experiences. All they have is opinions and emotions, and a lot of that comes from ignorance. A lot of that comes from being misguided. A lot of that comes from emotional pain that is just purely false. You know, those of us that are living abroad, those of us that live in Africa, we know what it is. Nobody who has never been there is not going to tell us about that. You know, and so I want to talk about this today. All right, guys, if you're here, let me see you in the chat room. What's up, 2028 diversity? Yes, it is me, the one and only African superstar, bringing you an unpopular opinions. You know, I think that this is valuable to reiterate because I know a lot of people are very, what's the right word? Sensitive. You know, people are very affected by what others say or others' judgment. I think I've been blessed to not really care about a lot of people's opinions. I've always been able to bet on myself. I've always been able to count on my tenacity and, drive for the goals. I've always been able to do that. And so, what other people say or other people's outcomes, I don't really take them too much to heart because I know that my performance levels and my investment levels and my drive is different than a lot of people. I don't really care. You know, I was after freedom, which I have in the motherland. I was after dramatic change, which I have received, which I live every day. And that was the goal for me. And I have achieved those things. And now, I get to come in and out of this Western world. I'm currently in London with my little sister. She's out. And, it's nice to come and go. You know what I'm saying? It's nice to come and go. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Coming to the West for shopping, coming for family visits, coming to go to events, or coming for, the summertime, or maybe you work and make a little money, and then leaving, that's what you call an option. And it's beautiful. Because what I felt before that, when I really didn't have options, when my base was in my location, was trapped. I felt like, damn, this is what it's like. And I felt, how can I get out? How can I change this? And now that's not my reality. Now coming to the West is an optional thing, and when I'm fed up, I can go back home to Ghana. And I know like some people that pop in and out of my channel, they don't really understand because I'm an international world traveler. So they see me abroad and they're just like, well, what are you doing there? Well, why aren't you in Africa? I'm international. Hello. I was in Ohio last week, went to visit my mom. I'm in London this week, treating my sister to the birthday trip. That's me. I'm a baller. That's what I do. Hello. Hello. Next stop, Ghana. But that's the life I'm living. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I have set up my base in Ghana. There's a lot of aspects of living in the continent that makes accessing the Western world very flexible, like such as annual rent. If you guys know anything about living in Africa, or some of you guys that are living in Africa, you know that we have the total benefit, in my opinion, of paying your rent annually. So that means once you've paid your rent for the year or 2 years or whatever, you don't have to worry about coming up with that monthly rent. You just have to worry about your maintenance, your food, your transportation, whatever. That means I can go abroad for 2 or 3 months. That means I can go here and there and everywhere. I don't have to be anchored in a particular location. And I think that right there gives so much freedom. Imagine those of you guys living in America right now, or those of you guys living in the UK, you could just pay your rent up or mortgage up for the whole year and be free to travel and be free to do whatever. But for most of us in the Western world, you can't afford it. That monthly rent, you're struggling just to make it happen. You're struggling to make that mortgage happen every month. You can't afford to take 2-3 months off and go globetrot and travel the world. And that's how the Western system is designed. There's no freedom in there. But getting back to the topic, when change and real freedom are your goals, you are not distracted by anything else. These people, for instance, that come on my channel, these FBA folks, these ADOS folks, these anti-black, anti-immigrant, anti-this, anti-that, foundational, blah, blah, blah. I don't care what they think. And I don't care what they say. Most of the times, if they leave me comments and it's not appropriate, they get deleted and blocked. Very simple. I'm out here globetrotting. I don't have time to deal with their opinions. What bearing do their opinions have on what I'm doing out here? I'm a respected member of the community, several communities. I don't care what somebody says in my DMs or my post. Like, who cares? Who are these people? I'm continually validated by first and foremost, my own track record. B, the track record of people that are operating similarly to me, different locations that I don't even know, never talked to. For me, the continent is the gateway to freedom for the black man and the black woman. There's no place around the world that offers us that autonomy, period. Go argue with your mom. Go argue with your friends. Go argue with someone else. But there is no other place in the world that offers the level of autonomy. Okay, what does that mean? Just being able to operate as yourself. There's no other place in the world. Every other place in the world, we have to deal with this and that. Okay, to escalate professionally, to matriculate into society. There's some selling out that's required. There's some changing of the voice and changing the name and putting on the mask and being appropriate, being politically correct. Estranging yourself from elements, indigenous and otherwise, of your personality. Suppressing your feelings or your interests or your tastes. On the continent, there is not that. And that's the beauty. And when that's what you're after, you don't have time to consider your critics. You don't have time. They are an irrelevant part of the journey. Seriously. They're an irrelevant part of the journey. There are some people that have gone before you. They would be considered more advisors than a critic. A critic is coming from wherever they're coming from. A lot of times, more often than not with the necessary grounds to speak on those things. Real talk. Big shout outs to the family. Kevin, aka Mr. K, I see you there. Yeah, I had to, just call out the hypocrisy because I know that the juice and the energy is on the continent. I know that. And I know obviously people that are not participating or have been misled or whatever. I know those people they feel some type of way about all the focus going to the continent. They want to have some relevance. They want to have some attention. So they're going to do strange things. But like I said, if you take away all your emotions about Africa, the history, whatever, some encounters you may have had with people, if you take away all those sentimental elements and you look at the fact that, many African nations are some of the last developing nations in the world, then you know that the opportunity is in the continent, regardless how you feel about it. It doesn't really matter how you feel about it. It's kind of like, let me say, politics. Okay? Some of you guys are in America. If you guys are in America, any of my viewers, let me see a number one. Big shout outs to you guys. If you're in America, okay, and there's a presidential candidate that you don't like, okay, so let's say this last election, which was between Kamala Harris and Trump, okay, so let's say, you are for Team Democrat, you are for Kamala, you were for Biden, you were for Barack, whatever. The country elects the opposite person. Okay, you're still, whether or not you approve of that politician, whether or not you elected him, he's still in control. You still live there. You're still subject to the decisions that he makes and his party makes. Okay, that's what I'm going to parallel the continent. No matter how you feel about it, it is the final frontier. It is the future. Okay, it is what it is. Whatever we're experiencing in England or Europe, whatever we're experiencing in America, it's already been determined. Okay, it's been like that for hundreds of years. And it's not even in position. There's no track that is illuminated to bring massive change. Just settle that your lifetime, maybe 20 years remaining, maybe 10 years remaining, maybe 30 years, maybe 5 years remaining. Guess what? It is what it is where you are. Who do you think you are? That so many people have preceded you. They've tried different avenues to bring change in America, bring change in England. And we're still dealing with the same things today that they were dealing with 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, 400 years ago, 500 years ago. What makes you think in your small lifetime, that big, you're going to see radical change? You're not going to see radical change. Accept it, because I accepted that decades ago. And that is one of the driving factors why I pursue change and why I pursue freedom the way I do, and why I'm not apologetic about it, because it is what it is, what it is. And if you want your freedom, you'll do whatever. You don't care. You don't care how you may appear to others. You don't care what they say. You don't care the comments they leave in your videos or what they tell your family, friends. You don't care about any of that, because your goals are different. Your goals are larger than their little mentality can handle, you know? And the best way to silence them, I mean, not that they would ever be silenced, because there's some people, no matter what you do, they're going to have their opinion. But the best way to defeat them, in a sense, let me say, is to pursue your goals and be successful in them. You know, there's nothing more gratifying to me than the fact that people didn't believe that I could make a life abroad, that I could do better abroad than I was doing in the Western world. There's nothing more satisfying to me to blast my success in their face indirectly. No, I don't need to look up their number and say, yo, 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 I remember when you told me I wouldn't make it. How you like me now? No, no, no. I'll let my actions speak for themselves. You know, because I happen to be on social media, people get to see a bit of a glimmer of my life, see, you know, things that I'm doing and accomplishing. It gets around. You know, it gets around to my haters. It gets around to ex-lovers. It gets around to former employers. It gets around. They see me. You know, and so there's nothing more gratifying than accomplishing that which you set out to do. You know, so that is today's message. Big shout out to the African Superstar family. I saw just a handful of you in the chat room, but I do appreciate your time. And I just want to remind you guys, you know, time is of the essence. You know, time is on the essence. The reason why there's so many of us here on social media that come and try to inspire you and motivate you is because time is limited, and it's sweet on the other side. It's sweet on the other side. You know, like I said, these last few weeks, I've been traveling quite a bit. I went to the US. I'm currently in the UK. Next stop, Ghana. And, you know, as I'm able to look at it in that trifecta, you know, I'm able to compare the lifestyles that I've had in the various locations. I'm able to compare the weather. I'm able to compare the social life. I'm able to compare the food and my fitness and all these things. And, you know, I just keep coming back to Ghana is good for me. You know, I just keep coming back to Ghana is good for me. And I'm so happy that I know. I'm happy I know about that option. I'm happy that I've exercised that option. I'm happy that, you know, I've been successful in that, you know, but some of you, you know, the writing is on the wall. You know, you need to get some type of oomph in your game plans and really get out there. And to that, I would say, obviously, I do offer private tours in Ghana. If you know you are heading to the motherland, you're ready to finally embark and come to Ghana. I mean, all I can tell you guys is after this I show speed. Hello, if you didn't get the memo, let me close with this memo. Okay, if you didn't get the memo, the stock on the continent just went up like 300%, because I show speed. He did a tour, you know, live stream. A lot of people, it has piqued their interest. And that means that a lot more people are going to be flocking to the continent. That means that prices are probably going to go up. That means that availability of this and that may go down. That means that, you know, things as they currently are might change. And some of you guys that are dragging your feet, you're going to get left behind when the energy, just captivates the continent, you're not going to be able to catch up. So it's very important that you start really prioritizing your goals on the continent, et cetera, because I mean, I just don't want any of you to be left behind. Moving to Ghana has been a complete and utter game change for me. I think that it literally saved my mind and saved my life because, I was so unhappy. I was a bit hopeless because I had accepted that what I was going through was how it was going to be. And, I just didn't have much on the horizon to look forward to. And Ghana gives me that. Ghana allows me to dream about myself, the future versions of myself. It allows me to dream about the country, the progress, the outlook of my people. It's just restores so many areas of hope for me, tangible hope, because some of us hope in these deities and these religions, and we don't really get much interaction from that, and we can't really see a lot of change or a lot of impact. But when it comes to Ghana, I mean, I'm constantly seeing things change. When I'm in Ghana, it's like I see the development, I see the infrastructure improving, I see, so many things, and it's really, really encouraging. So I'm not going to be before you guys too long. Yes, I do appreciate those of you guys that were in the chat room. Shout outs to 2028 Diversity. Shout outs to Dr. Carnita Grove. Shout outs to Kevin, aka Mr. K. Yes. The rest of you guys, I'm sorry, I can't shout you out because you weren't in the chat room. Hello. But some of y'all might just be those spectators. Hello. And I hope that if you are, you're listening, because I know you want to come and check out my channel. See what the African superstar is saying. See what she's doing. Yeah, I know. Sooner than later, guys. What's up, Blanca Valley? I see you in the chat room. Yes, you did. I've been on here for almost 30 minutes. Yes. Just coming with this message. Shoshana, I see you guys. Oh, now y'all want to get in the chat room. What's up with that now? Hello. Now y'all want to get in the chat room real quick. All right, family. Well, it's been nice seeing all of you, those of you that popped up in the chat room. If you've enjoyed my content, make sure you join our platform so that you can see more thoughts. Like I said, my next journey will be Ghana, and I'm very much looking forward to getting back home after being out here in all this cold weather. Whew! The weather in Ohio. I mean, first I flew through Boston, and it was like, I got this ice box where my heart used to be. It was just to the max. So I went to Boston at first. I did transit through Boston. Then I went to Columbus, and it was just like, yo. And the entire week I was in Columbus, the snow stayed. It didn't melt at all. So I was really happy to get on the plane and leave. I mean, it would have been nice to go directly to Ghana. However, my little sister wanted to come to London for her birthday, and that was her birthday gift. So we are here. We've been here since Sunday. Yes. And, it's been okay. I mean, it's been raining a lot here in the UK. I actually saw a meme yesterday that says it has been raining every day since the year began, a little bit here and there in the UK. So currently 42 days straight, and it has rained all this week that we've been in town. But nonetheless, we've had a nice day, and I'm moving on to Ghana next. Yes. So I hope you guys are having a lovely day. I want to say thank you for taking time out to listen to me. If you see the playback, please make sure you leave your comments in the box below. Okay? Until we meet again, stay black and true. If you ain't black, just stay true.